This is why being a man in the UK is harder than ever before. I've been making this video off for quite some time, but I felt today of all days was the right time to create it. With over 70% of men in the UK feeling socially invisible and 1 in 3 men having no close friends to turn to during a personal crisis, living on the breadline, struggling to pay their mortgages, their rent, and get on in life, I thought maybe it's time for me to vent about this. I've lived in London, the UK, my entire life. I don't live in central London, I live on the outskirts of London. But I know what it's like being a city guy. But over the last 12 months especially, I've noticed the following. I've noticed more people being more miserable, grumpier than ever before. Travel is a mess. Traffic is up. The wealthy are leaving in their droves. People are pulling their kids out of schools and taking them abroad. Crime is up a disgusting amount, especially in London. And I constantly see this tagline and headline that the UK is done and the UK is finished. That might be relatively true. And who's to blame? Well, certainly the politicians. Pandemic didn't help. Society and so on. But let's actually talk about it from another point of view. Let's talk about it from the male perspective. Back in the day, like my parents' and grandparents' generation especially, it seemed a lot easier to make money. A lot easier to buy a house, to get a mortgage, start a family, and so on. Things were simpler and straightforward. Now, everything is overcomplicated. Everything is difficult. Laws are coming out constantly which are breaking men. You can't get on in life. And even if you want to get on, can you do so in the UK? The following are the reasons why it's so tough, no matter what age you are, no matter where you're from in the UK, how long you've been here, why it's so bloody hard to do anything. Let's talk about that lovely cost of living, with inflation and higher expenses outpacing income. Even high earners, even the wealthy, are not socializing as much anymore, are not going out. Like I said, the super rich are leaving the UK. When it's too expensive to justify going to see a movie, going out for a pizza, or even for a breakfast nowadays, that's when you know it's a problem. Do you really genuinely save if you shop at the supermarkets that are cheaper? Yes, but what sort of quality of food are you getting? Do you really enjoy the fact that you can't turn your heating on because your electricity and gas is through the roof? Do you enjoy the fact that your money literally comes in and goes out within the same day? No. Our cost of living has crippled not just the UK, but men all over the world. As I've touched on already, I live in London and the crime is astronomically high. You feel unsafe even to walk down the street, let alone to go to central London. I don't go to central London anymore, and if I have to, I make it quick and I leave. It's just not safe for anyone. I know men who own nice watches, had nice cars, wore nice clothing, but they don't enjoy those nice things anymore because it's just going to get taken away from them. I see WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups of neighborhoods constantly sharing daily crimes happening. For me personally, I've been mugged on a bus at knife point. And 1 week, years ago, I was ill and had the flu, and I had my car parked in the front drive. The day I finally recovered and felt better, I woke up to find my car had been stolen the night before. Let's talk about money a little bit more, with the real rising living costs with little increase in pay. But also, if you do increase your pay, as a business owner, you're just going to get taxed more. As a landlord, you're going to just be taxed more with more hidden costs. And if you are working a 9 to 5, you'll be working harder, longer hours, and regretting the fact you got that promotion. For what? An extra couple of grand? And how far does that take you? What? It makes you feel happy that you've actually managed to spend as much money as you've done and not save as much as you wanted, not actually enjoy that money, not be able to invest it. Did you know the average UK person has only £500 total in their bank accounts? Okay? Total. That's all they've got left. Let's talk about the housing crisis. I've been a landlord for many years, and thank God I was one, because I saw this coming. I said 14 years ago that the UK, and London especially, will be like New York City. Back in the day, no one owned their property, apartments, and certainly houses in New York. And we went the same way in the UK because we copy everything that goes on in America. Now, it is increasingly difficult to get on the property ladder. And even if you do, what sort of quality property are you going to buy? What sort of house? What sort of apartment and leasehold? There's a difficulty not just buying a house, renting as well. I increase my rents as a landlord because my mortgage rates go up, my service charges, my costs go up. I have to pay my mortgage. If I don't put my rents up, how am I going to do it? But that's the problem. There's also greedy landlords out there. There's interest rates going through the roof. So not only can a man not afford a house to buy, he can't afford a house to rent. As I touched on, there is a alarming rise in social insecurity and invisibility. This rising loneliness has led to fewer close relationships. The UK is mainly grey, mainly cold, windy and wet. And even in the summers, it rains a lot. So therefore, we don't get a lot of vitamin D here. We don't get a lot of sunshine and enjoyment. And the winters are more depressing than ever. But if you're a single lonely man and you don't have many friends and you can't get a date, that is debilitating. It's soul destroying. It's crushing. With no one to speak to, no one to be around, no one to be intimate with. All you have is your commute, your work, maybe a bit of friends or family, like minor friends once in a blue moon, or family for special occasions, and just the routine of life. The dating struggles are very prevalent here, just like everywhere else in every other major city around the world. It is hard to get a date. It is hard to get a match on a dating app. It is hard to go out and actually meet people for the average man. So what does he do? Like I said, he sticks to the routine of life. Go to work, come home, maybe watch a bit of YouTube, maybe watch some pornography, go to bed, rinse and repeat. Thanks to that loneliness and that isolation, there's an over-reliance on screens and technology. If it wasn't for technology, if it wasn't for screens, where would these men be? What would they be doing? How would they be thinking? They'd literally be even more on autopilot. There is an escapism being able to go onto YouTube, go onto X, go and speak to people and go onto forums and vent and share your opinions and so on. But also there's video games. Also there's tablets for binge watching Netflix and so on. With an over-reliance on screens, there is more of an escapism from the UK than ever before. And men are looking at other countries, watching politics of other countries, jealous and green with envy that their country, the UK, London, etc., is dying. There's a health neglect that is often overlooked when it comes to men. A mental health neglect and also an actual physical health neglect. Men are encouraged in the UK, just go to the pub and drown your sorrows. Or maybe just go out and just go get blind drunk at a bar. Or maybe just stay at home and do nothing. And if you're suffering as a man in the UK, where do we talk about it? Who do we turn to? We can be quite cold, ruthless, nasty people in the UK. Quite blunt. We're not very emotional. We're not very empathetic. We're miserable. In London especially, try going on the train, the tube, and getting a good morning, a hello, or a smile from a stranger. Most likely you'll get shoved out the way, completely ignored, and have a face full of misery. With all these things combined, is it worth it? Is it worth killing ourselves to do what? To buy a house we can never afford, to raise family in a culture and society which is dying and confused, to grow old and retire into a system that might not even give us a pension? Who knows? That's why close friends of mine and people are talking to are constantly saying they're getting out. But the question is the grass greener? Where are you getting out to? Why are you getting out especially? If you're a man, I get it. If you're a family man, I get it. But at the end of the day, as the child of an immigrant and someone who's contributed to this country, as well as my family and my grandparents and so on, it saddens me to see what's happened to Great Britain. It's not great anymore. In my opinion, it's just Britain.